know that we could have opened our first campaign office in Denver, we could have done it in Colorado Springs, we could have done it in Aurora, we could have done it in Pueblo. That's where I launched our statewide campaign, but we decided that we're opening our very first campaign office for the Polis for Colorado campaign right here in Grand Junction. And that's important for two reasons. One, it's important because we want to be open for business in the Western Slope. We want to hear from you, and we want to make sure we take our bold message to voters in Mesa County and the Valley to really excite people about a statewide plan to make our state work for everybody, not just Front Range residents, not just the wealthy, and it needs to be work for everybody. So that's really what our message is. It includes things like making sure the conversion to renewable energy works for Colorado families, making sure that we have a pathway for people who have jobs in coal and fossil fuels to have jobs that are good, paying in the new renewable energy economy. In education, and I just met one of your great preschool teachers here, there she is, we're running a platform of bringing universal preschool and kindergarten to every child in the state of Colorado. And that will ensure that the next generation of Western Slope residents has the opportunities that the 21st century economy affords, which require greater education than ever before. And the most important years are those early childhood years. Every study shows this. There's a scientific consensus and educational consensus. Years ago, when I was on the State Board of Education, and I co-chaired a national commission on high school reform, and we said, and there is additional work to be done at the high school level, but the best way to make our high schools perform better is to have universal preschool and kindergarten and wait 12 years, because the high schools will look a lot better when we do that. But I have worked in the trenches of improving high schools. I've started high schools to serve at-risk youth in Lakewood, Aurora, and Thornton to work with the immigrant population, helping 16 to 21-year-old new arrivals learn English and get a high school diploma. I'm very excited about dual and concurrent enrollment opportunities, and I also met somebody who works in that field here. Where'd she go? There you are, thank you. This is one of the best ways to make the pathway to college not only more affordable, but also more realistic for families, meeting them where they're at in terms of time and getting a certification that's relevant to you as a student so you can get a good job, again, in an increasingly complex economy. The economy is changing, not just in Colorado, not just in America, but across the world. So more than ever before, a high school diploma is not enough. Doesn't mean that every student is going to need a 4-year bachelor's degree, but it means the students are going to need, and also mid-career adults are going to need some kind of skill certification to be able to earn a living and support a middle-class lifestyle. We're also focused on transportation and infrastructure. And when we say transportation and infrastructure, I want to make sure everybody here knows we're not just talking about the Front Range. We're talking about Western Colorado and Southern Colorado. And that's another reason we wanted to open up our very first office here to prove to you, and we'll prove to you again and again by being back, not just as a candidate, by the way, but as governor. And a little something you should know about my track record for showing up. I represent a broad geographic district already from the Wyoming border out to Grand and Eagle County, and I held 15 town halls in every county in my district last year alone, not this year obviously. And as governor, will be a regular presence here, not just on the Western Slope, but in Trinidad, in Pueblo, in Sterling, in Colorado Springs. And I'm excited to bring a bold, inclusive, statewide message to our state. We are now beginning the ballot access piece of the campaign, right? And the biggest thing we get when we call people is, oh, isn't this a year away? Isn't it 11 months away? Yes, but the next 60 days are how we get our name on the ballot. And if you don't get your name on the ballot, pretty darn hard to win, right? So I'm confident that we have the team to do that. We have a great field staff here. If our staff could come out and raise your hand so we can all identify. Go ahead and just shout your name, introduce yourself.
I'm Pat, I'm his field organizer here.
Gavin, regional field director. Christina, field organizer.
So Gavin, Christina, and Pat are our team here. So they'll be the ones you'll be interacting with as we begin the work to get my name on the ballot. There's 2 things we're doing in the next 60 days. One is preparing for a Democratic caucus, which is one way to get my name on the ballot. There's also a petition, because the two are related. Depending on what you get at caucus, you still need to turn in petitions. So we need to successfully complete both of those. The caucus is March 6th. The petitions, I think a few weeks after that, have to be turned in. So that is what we're working on here in Grand Junction and across Colorado. I'll be opening up other offices. Grand Junction won't be the only one. So we are going to be opening in the next few weeks, Aurora, Denver, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, Fort Collins, other areas of the state, to make sure that we don't run a campaign just focused in Mesa County, even though you're the first. So I met a lot of you before, but I also have met a lot of good new friends here today, which I'm really excited to. But I'm looking forward to being here in this community and across the state to offer a bold vision for Colorado's future that makes our state work for everybody, not just a few. And with your help, we'll get it done, and I'd be happy to answer a few questions if you have any or comments. Yes?
Fred, do you favor debrucing the state?
Yeah, so that's a technical term related to Tabor, debrucing, coming out from the Tabor caps. The challenge in funding public infrastructure, education, all of our priorities are the state constitutional constraints of Tabor. So the way you meet that challenge is by building a coalition of not just Democrats, right? We could probably agree on something, but Democrats, Republicans, and the business community to get it done. There's been several successful efforts at the ballot box I've been involved with and supportive of all of them, including Amendment 23, Referendum C, some of you might recall, that was a 5-year timeout from Tabor, to the credit of our then governor, Republican Bill Owens. Tobacco tax and marijuana tax. Those have been the 4 times the voters of the state have stepped up and partially debruced or exempted revenue from Tabor. I'll be excited to work with stakeholders to build a winning coalition to get it done. And in doing that, you have to listen. Because it's not just listening to what we as progressives feel, it's also what can get over 50% at the ballot box. So it needs to be a discussion with the business community, with Republicans and Democrats to meet those needs. I'm confident we can do it, whether it's around preschool and kindergarten, whether it's around the transportation infrastructure, when you're stuck on traffic, when your road has potholes, doesn't matter whether you're the most conservative Republican in the world, you want that fixed, and guess who fixes that? Government, right? So that's the case we're going to build as we move towards a Tabor solution. Yeah.
What's your website address?
Polisforcolorado.com. Polisforcolorado.com. Follow us on Facebook if you don't already, if you use Facebook. It's Jared Polis candidate. You're welcome to follow. There's a Congressman Jared Polis too. That's the official capacity. But if you want to hear what's going on in the campaign, follow the candidate Jared Polis. Facebook page, Twitter, also at Jared Polis, and polisforcolorado.com.
What would you like to see happen with the ERA?
So how many para recipients are there here today? A number of you. First of all, thank you for your public service, because by working as firefighters, as police officers, as teachers, as professors, you've made a real difference for our state. So thank you. And you have paid into para, and you deserve your retirement. In Washington, I've been a fighter for Social Security and for retirement benefits. I've always supported making people whole. In the state, we have to make the changes we need to make sure that para is actuarially sound for you and for today's state employees, right? Para has a proposal that's out there to do that. It's under attack by one of my Republican opponents in particular, Walker Stapleton, but I'm sure the others join him. But I want to make sure that the commitments that were made to you are lived up to, and that all stakeholders are involved in making sure that para is sound for the next generation. Not just today's retirees, but those who've been working 20 years and are getting close to their retirement, and also those who've been working 3 or 4 years as a teacher or a firefighter. I want to know and be honest up front with what they're going to get when they can retire so they can plan their career. Chris, here's our Grand Junction City Councilman, Chris Kennedy.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Kind of two-part question. How, in your current role as a congressman, given Jeff Sessions' announcement on the war against drugs, I guess we can call it, do you think you can take some of the ammunition out of his arsenal in this current session? And if not, what are your plans as governor to ensure the viability of the cannabis industry in the state of Colorado?
Yeah, which, as we know, not only in Western Colorado and Southern Colorado and other areas has been important in terms of job creation, taxes, and also putting criminal cartels out of business. And regardless of what any of us feel about whether it should be legalized or not, that's the direction Colorado voters are taking, and it's not one that Washington, D.C. should interfere with. And so when you're talking to your Republican and conservative friends and neighbors, ask them, do they want Washington, D.C. bureaucrats making decisions for Mesa County voters? Let's turn the tables on that kind of discussion, right? And we have a perfect opportunity here with Jeff Sessions, who has personally waged a war against all forms of medicinal marijuana, no less recreational marijuana, as a senator for many, many years, and he's now carrying that over into his new role in the Trump administration. As governor, I will stand up to the U.S. Attorney General. I will advocate for our decision-making here in Colorado, for the industry to be regulated legally rather than in the hands of drug dealers and cartels. And we need a governor who not only is willing to stand up, but has the track record and knowledge and ability to do that. And I've done that in Washington, and I'll do that in Colorado.
We're fortunate to have good candidates for the governor's office, Democratic candidates. How do you distinguish yourself from the other candidates?
He asked me a little bit about what have I offer uniquely as a candidate. I have a track record creating jobs. I've started several businesses, created hundreds of jobs, so I've met payroll, I've balanced budgets. I have that real world experience that is very important in winning independent-minded voters, small business people. I have a track record of work in education, where I've not only served on the State Board of Education as the youngest chair in history, but I also rolled up my sleeves and I started a school to serve at-risk youth, and I served as superintendent for several years. I also know enough about the political process, having served in Congress, to get Democrats and Republicans to work together to get things done. So it's about the vision, and it's great when candidates have a vision, but what I also offer is the track record of producing results and getting people to follow through. And so that's what I offer as your next gubernatorial candidate.
Why do you want to be governor rather than U.S. Senator?
Good, I'll allow that one and one in the back. Yeah, I'll do both.
As governor, what's your vision in balancing the projected population growth in Colorado over the next 10, 15 years?
Yeah.
And the quality of our natural environment and our
So let me do both of those. First of all, why, I have a great job. I'm honored to serve. The honor of my life, being elected the same year Barack Obama was elected, 2008, having served alongside him and been part of reining in the excesses of Wall Street, of the Recovery Act, of the progress we made on environmental issues. It's a different time in Washington now, right? I feel that on the issues that you and I care about, we need to be bold leaders here in the state. Take something like clean energy and climate. With President Trump pulling out of the Paris Climate Accords, we need to show leadership at the state and local level. We can't just afford to wait. Someday there'll be a different president, there'll be a different Congress, but we can't afford to wait. So just like the city of Pueblo committed to 100% renewable energy by 2035, we have a statewide plan for our state to reach 100% renewable energy by 2040.
Yes.
And so that's what we're going to do right here in Colorado, or sooner if technology allows. My passion has always been about opportunity and education. And I've started schools, I've worked on school boards, I've worked to pass, and congratulations on passing your mill levy, by the way. Here it is. We have a Secretary of Education in Washington more interested in siphoning resources out of our public schools to private schools. And we can't afford to wait. Kids are only kids once. As the father of a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, I see that every day. We need to invest in preschool and kindergarten right here, and help invest in education to make sure the schools have the resources they need to meet the learning needs of every child. The other question was about really one of the most important questions across our state. How do we balance increased growth with a quality of life that makes Colorado special? That's why we all live here, right? So there's a big answer to that. Part of it involves with local communities. A governor doesn't, at the end of the day, do zoning, do land use, do any of those activities. They're all locally driven. Who you elect is very important for your city council, who they appoint for your planning commission, for your commissioners, who they appoint for your planning commission. The state doesn't interfere with that, but the state has to plan for the growth, meaning we have to protect our public lands, right? Our public lands are not only an intrinsic part of what makes Colorado special for all of us, but they're also an important economic driver of our state, of jobs in the outdoor recreation and tourism industry. So in addition to the federal lands, which as governor I will be a champion for, we also have state land holdings. More in eastern Colorado, but some in western Colorado, that I will also be a champion for conservation. We need to make sure that we build the infrastructure, including multimodal, getting cars off of roads, looking at increased bus and rail opportunities, including in western Colorado, which is the only real answer rather than just lane expansion. It's not that lane expansion doesn't have a role, but we have to look at alternative forms of transportation and housing affordability as people, to help people live closer to where they work, so that we're not paying for it on the back end by having to do lane expansion, because they live further from where they work, which has become a crisis in the metro area. As you talk to your friends in the Denver metro area, that's reached a crisis level in that area.
Just a follow-up to
Yeah.
that, the economic development side and when you're talking about multimodal transport.
Yep.
Talk about broadband infrastructure.
So as part of infrastructure, the rural broadband and connectivity is an inseparable part of infrastructure. It's part of our plan that we'll be rolling out this week. We need to make sure that we're not just talking about moving people, it's also moving bits and bytes. And the two are connected because it enables telecommuting opportunities for location-independent employment, and I met a couple people who do that today, telemedicine, online education, as well as just the consumer experience that people expect in the 21st century that make it more attractive to live in rural and underserved areas. So we're going to build out rural broadband as part of an overall statewide initiative for infrastructure. I'll do one last one and then I'll just visit with you individually. Yeah.
So what do you see as the future of water allocation between agriculture and urban growth and the conservation of water?
Yeah, we could talk about that one for a long time. And so, but let me just say that Governor Hickenlooper has made great progress with the first statewide water plan. However, he leaves the bill to the next governor. So we need to figure out a way to meet the water infrastructure needs of a growing state. I do think there's low-hanging fruit around conservation, both for best practices for farming on the Eastern Plains, as well as for residential and suburban development. So, and farming here too, yes.
Agriculture is
Yeah.
so important, and water obviously is
Yep.
an integral part of it.
So again, there's some best practices that I think we can do more of. We need to build out the infrastructure in the statewide water plan, and we need to look at low-hanging fruit around reducing usage. So does our field staff want to say any few words about any of the logistics? Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be around for a little while to visit. I'm going to turn it over to our Regional Field Director, Gavin. You'll get to know us all very well. Let us know what we should be doing in the community. Petitions start in just another week or two. Caucus is March 6th. I couldn't be more excited to be opening up our very first field office in the state of Colorado right here in Grand Junction. Thank you.